Imagine a shortcut to managing your money, making even the most complex investment strategies simple and accessible. What if we told you that the world of wealth management, often seen as, old school and exclusive, is on the brink of a digital revolution? Today, we're diving deep into the future of wealth management, specifically how tokenization and blockchain technology are set to transform how investment portfolios are built and managed.
Yeah, and we've got a fascinating, really forward-looking report from JP Morgan and Apollo. And these aren't just market observers. They're active collaborators sharing their vision and a groundbreaking proof of concept that shows this future isn't just, well, theoretical.
Absolutely. Our mission in this deep dive is to extract the most important insights, give you those aha moments, and help you understand what this step change in asset and wealth management truly means for you, the investor. We're going to try and make these dense topics genuinely interesting. Okay, let's unpack this. When you think of wealth management, you probably picture personalized advice, right? Tailored just for you. And it is, to a degree. But for many, especially the wealthy, it often involves something called discretionary portfolio management. Can you maybe explain what that looks like in practice and where it starts to hit some current limitations?
Absolutely. So in a discretionary relationship, your portfolio manager, the PM, actually makes investment decisions on your behalf day to day.
Yeah.
They don't need your approval for every single trade, which is different from an advisory relationship where they just recommend actions.
Right, they just advise.
Exactly. And to manage this for hundreds, maybe even thousands of clients, firms use model portfolios. Think of these as templates, defined by their chief investment officers, representing different risk-return preferences. So maybe a balanced portfolio with, say, 50% equities, 30% fixed income, and 20% alternative investments.
Okay, makes sense.
Now, here's where we hit a significant bottleneck. For public assets like stocks and ETFs, these models work pretty well. They benefit from industry-wide settlement systems, real-time data, high liquidity. It all works. But then you have alternative investments, things like private equity, private credit, real estate, infrastructure.
Or less liquid stuff.
Precisely. These assets can offer attractive, risk-adjusted returns and great diversification, often reducing volatility in a portfolio. The catch: they generally come with less liquidity.
So if they're so beneficial, why aren't they more widely used in these model portfolios then?
Historically, access has been the main issue, right? Exactly, yeah. They've traditionally been limited to very sophisticated institutional investors. Now, firms like Apollo are actively trying to democratize access, but the practical challenges are, well, immense. First, the operational processing for alternatives is incredibly high touch.
High touch.
Yeah, meaning very manual. We're talking non-standard, fragmented, often paper-intensive subscription and redemption processes. Imagine trying to coordinate across fund administrators, transfer agents, the general partners overseeing the funds. It's a complex manual ballet.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It can be. Second, liquidity remains a major hurdle. These funds are inherently less liquid. You've got multi-year lockups often. Secondary sales, if they even happen, are usually manual bilateral negotiations, not something you can just easily plug into an automated rebalancing model. And finally, there's a real education gap for both wealth managers and individual investors. Understanding the unique characteristics, the risks, the returns, it takes effort. So the net result is that despite their clear benefits, alternatives aren't commonly found in model portfolios, which means investors miss out on potentially higher quality, better diversified portfolios.
And it's not just the alternatives that are a headache, right? Even with traditional assets, adjusting portfolio allocations still involves a lot of manual work. I'm picturing portfolio managers buried in spreadsheets, then sending trade tickets off to operations teams who then have to talk to a dozen different entities. It sounds like a lot of moving parts.
It absolutely is. This system fragmentation means multiple systems, manual processes, extensive reconciliation across loads of participants, and these inefficiencies have real consequences for investors. Managers often have to maintain cash buffers.
Cash buffer?
Yeah, basically holding extra cash just to ensure they can actually place buy orders when needed. This leads to what we call cash drag. Think of it like leaving a chunk of your money sitting in a low-interest account when it could be working for you. That's a meaningful opportunity cost for you, the end investor. Your money isn't working as hard as it could.
Right, and this complexity only gets worse when we look at the emerging digital asset space, which itself is incredibly fragmented, isn't it?
Precisely. You've got dozens of different blockchain networks, both public and private, permissionless and permissioned. These are effectively isolated digital islands, each with its own users, its own apps, its own liquidity pools. This makes it incredibly difficult for value and data to flow smoothly between them. A huge bottleneck for innovation and unified portfolio management.
So, okay, we've got this clear picture of a fragmented, manual, often inefficient system, lots of friction. But what if there was a way to bring all of this together, to make the complex simple and the inaccessible, well, accessible? That's where this big vision comes in, right? For creating a step change in the asset and wealth management industry powered by blockchain and tokenization.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the core thesis here is pretty groundbreaking. Tokenization could truly harmonize how public and private assets are treated in portfolio management, unlocking immense value for everyone involved. At its heart, tokenization is the process of representing an asset's ownership records on a shared, single-source digital ledger using blockchain tech. This ledger is transparent, immutable,
And secure, ideally.
and secure, yes.
Yeah.
Crucially, this is combined with smart contracts. Think of these as self-executing computer programs living on the blockchain. They encode rules-based workflows. They can automatically transfer assets or value when certain conditions are met. No manual intervention needed. This fusion of tokenization and smart contracts aims to make automated, near-instantaneous settlement feasible by bringing multiple asset types onto the same tech platform. Using common protocols and standards, it's a huge leap from today's lengthy, siloed processes.
So instead of just tracking an asset on some spreadsheet somewhere, you're basically baking its ownership and rules right into its digital form. That makes a lot of sense. The report mentions two main ways this can happen: asset-backed versus native asset tokenization. Can you quickly clarify the difference?
Sure. With asset-backed tokenization, the traditional asset itself still lives in the old legacy systems, say transfer agent's registry. What gets created on the blockchain is just a digital pointer, a smart contract token representing a claim on that existing asset, like a digital twin.
Okay, a pointer.
Right. Native asset tokenization, though, is bolder. Here, the financial instrument itself is born directly as a smart contract token on the blockchain. All its contractual rights, obligations, everything is embedded within. The ownership records exist only on that blockchain.
So the blockchain is the primary record.
Exactly. JP Morgan has been a pioneer here, starting way back with Quorum in 2015. Early experiments in 2016, tokenized commercial paper, bonds. They were proofs of concept but lacked scale. By 2017, they developed an integrated model bridging legacy systems with blockchain. And now we're talking trillions in financial instruments tokenized across secure institutional networks.
Trillions, wow.
Yeah. The bold vision now is truly personalized investment portfolios at scale. Vastly simplified order execution and settlement for all assets, traditional and alternative. Imagine portfolios automatically rebalanced in real time across different blockchain networks without a human touching it. The goal isn't really to change regulations or remove investor protections, but to make the existing rules work much, much better through streamlined, automated processing.
This sounds almost futuristic, but as you said, it's not just theory. JP Morgan and Apollo, along with a pretty significant group of industry players, and supported by the Monetary Authority of Singapore under its Project Guardian initiative, they actually built a proof of concept. This wasn't just a paper, it was a seed of an idea brought to life, yeah.
That's right. Key collaborators included WisdomTree, JP Morgan Private Bank, and a whole ecosystem of specialized tech partners like Provenance Blockchain, Ava Labs, Oasis Pro, Axelar, Layer Zero, Bioeconomy,
Yeah.
quite a list. And it's important to note, all the infrastructure used was private and permissioned, and no real money changed hands. This was purely about proving the concept.
Right, a test run. The goal of this POC was simple yet incredibly powerful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To prove that a portfolio manager could seamlessly manage a large number of discretionary portfolios, combining tokenized, traditional, and alternative investments across various blockchains, all while keeping unique investor customizations. So how did they actually set up this magic?
Well, they established a multi-chain environment. JP Morgan's own Kinexys digital assets platform, which is Ethereum-based and permissioned, served as the base chain. And it's their flagship platform, already settled over $900 billion of tokenized U.S. Treasuries, so it's pretty robust.
Okay.
Then they integrated other chains. A permissioned instance of Provenance Blockchain, where Oasis Pro tokenized the Apollo funds, and Avalanche, where Kinexys tokenized the WisdomTree funds.
So connecting different digital islands, basically.
Yeah, and to connect them, they used interoperability solutions. Axelar connected Kinexys to Provenance. Think of it like a secure translator between different digital languages, an EVM chain, and a non-EVM chain. Layer Zero connected Kinexys to Avalanche, both EVM compatible. And to make the user experience smooth for the fund manager, they used account abstraction infrastructure, specifically by Connie, on Avalanche.
Account abstraction. That sounds technical.
It basically enabled gasless interactions, meaning the manager didn't need to hold or pay for cryptocurrency just to approve a transaction, a big friction reducer. And finally, a front-end prototype called Crescendo was built to visualize this whole process for PMs and investors.
That's quite the setup. So what were the key scenarios they tested? How did they show this magic working?
They tested 3 crucial scenarios. First, an initial investment. An investor deposited cash into their portfolio smart contract on Kinexys. The system's rebalancing module automatically calculated and submitted subscription orders to align that portfolio with its model across all 3 chains.
Okay, automated setup.
Second, a cash infusion. Investor adds more cash. The system instantly computes new orders, routes them, settles them, brings the portfolio back to its optimal allocation, again, automatically.
Nice.
But the real star was the third scenario, a model change. This is where the scalability really shines. A portfolio manager updated an investment allocation for an entire model. Let's say switching from an Apollo private equity fund to an Apollo equity replacement fund.
Okay, a strategic shift.
Right. The system then automatically rebalanced all investor portfolios tracking that model. In the POC, that was 100 distinct portfolios. It initiated, placed, and settled orders across all 3 different blockchains without a single step of manual intervention.
Wow, so a single click, potentially rebalancing thousands of individual client portfolios across multiple different blockchain networks, including those less liquid alts. That really does sound like a monumental improvement over today's fragmented, multi-step processes. We've covered the what and the how of this proof of concept. Now, let's maybe zoom in on a few crucial technologies that made this possible. So what does this all mean for how the underlying tech actually works? First, let's talk cross-chain interoperability, getting different blockchains to talk to each other. It's kind of like the internet for blockchains, right?
Exactly. It's critical for overcoming that fragmentation we discussed earlier. And the report really emphasizes why cross-chain messaging is preferred over traditional asset bridging. Think of bridging like, I don't know, physically moving gold from one vault to another, or making a photocopy. Messaging keeps the asset on its original chain and just sends a verified message about it.
Ah, so it maintains a single source of truth.
Precisely. Prevents asset duplication across ledgers, which can be a huge headache, a source of risk. Messaging is also more flexible. You can send complex, user-defined messages, maybe confirming KYC status or compliance data, not just asset movement. And crucially, it potentially reduces the risk of theft. While no system is perfect.
Right, nothing's foolproof.
Yeah, but a malicious event with messaging might be limited to sending invalid messages or disrupting service rather than outright stealing the assets, which we have seen happen with some public asset bridges. Axelar and Layer 0 were the specific messaging solutions used here, securely connecting EVM and non-EVM chains, tailored for the POC's privacy needs.
Okay, next, let's unpack the Kinexys Digital Assets Fungible Asset Contract, the ODFAC token standard. We hear a lot about ERC-20 in the crypto world, but this sounds like ERC-20 on steroids for serious finance.
Ah, that's a great way to put it. ODFAC, developed by Kinexys, is indeed ERC-20 compliant for simplicity, interoperability, but it extends it significantly. The core insight is that for regulated finance, a token needs more baked-in controls. ODFAC embeds essential financial controls directly into the digital asset itself.
Like what kind of controls?
Well, features like managed token, allowing permission deactivation, say for sanctions compliance, or managed account for locking balances, or forced transfers in security or default scenarios. It also standardizes how tokens are created or minted and destroyed or burned with clear audit trails, and includes token metadata to link to off-chain instrument data. It's really about building a digital asset that meets the tough requirements of institutional finance, promoting fungibility and control, but in a streamlined way.
Got it. And finally, let's look at account abstraction, specifically ERC 4337. You mentioned gasless transactions. That really jumps out as a game changer for user experience, doesn't it?
It truly is. Account abstraction fundamentally improves how users interact with EVM chains, makes smart contract wallets far more flexible. And that gasless transaction capability, powered by something called Paymaster functionality, is massive. It allows gas fees, the cost of using the blockchain, to be paid in different tokens or even paid on behalf of users by a third party.
Ah, so the user doesn't need to worry about holding the network's native crypto.
Exactly. For the POC on Avalanche, this meant the fund manager could seamlessly approve investment orders without needing to first go buy or hold crypto just to pay transaction fees. This makes the blockchain experience much closer to today's traditional finance world. Removes a huge friction point, reduces operational overhead and risk.
This all sounds incredibly sophisticated, technically impressive, but what's the real-world impact? Why should you, the individual investor listening, actually care about these innovations?
Yeah, good question. If we connect this back to the bigger picture, the potential benefits for everyone involved, from the big firms right down to you, are tangible and pretty significant. For wealth managers, the report estimates a firm with, say, 100,000 client portfolios could collapse their monthly rebalancing process from over 3,000 operational steps into just a few clicks.
Wow, 3,000 steps to a few clicks.
It's a massive efficiency gain. And that doesn't just save costs. It frees up their time and resources to reinvest, maybe in deeper research or more client-facing services, like educating you on how alternatives could fit into your portfolio.
Okay, so better service potentially.
Yeah.
What about direct benefits for me, the investor?
That's where it gets really interesting. First, eliminating cash drag. Remember those cash buffers. Programmatic near-instant settlement means your money is always working for you, not sitting on the sidelines. The report actually quantifies this. It could reduce costs by almost 20% or about 24 basis points per year just from putting that idle cash to work.
24 basis points. That adds up over time.
Certainly does. Second, access to higher quality portfolios. Streamlined processes and potentially enhanced liquidity could finally allow alternatives to be included properly in discretionary model portfolios. That can improve your expected returns or reduce volatility, or both. And third, this approach kind of offers the best of both worlds. You get the efficiency of robo-advisory, but combined with the alpha potential and insights of active management.
How so?
Well, you get personalized portfolios with potentially higher returns through alternatives, plus the benefit of manager due diligence and top-down asset allocation based on the firm's CIO macro insights. And for asset managers and distributors, it unlocks a massive new revenue opportunity. They estimate a $400 billion annual market by broadening access to alternative investments for more investors. And for service providers, it promises more efficiency, lower costs, better transparency, and reduced risk across the board.
These benefits sound almost too good to be true for the investor. What's the catch? I mean, while this proof of concept is a huge step forward, this journey isn't exactly obstacle-free, is it?
No, absolutely not. And this raises an important question. What are the practical considerations, the challenges that stand between this vision and widespread reality? First, the investment universe needs critical mass. Today, tokenized real-world investments. It's only about $1.3 billion globally, mostly U.S. Treasuries and some private loans. For truly diversified portfolios, we need a much, much broader range of tokenized offerings across all asset classes to emerge.
Right, you need products to actually put in the portfolios.
Exactly. Second, true liquidity for alternatives. Tokenization doesn't magically create liquidity by itself. It just makes secondary transactions more efficient. So we need a whole stack of liquidity solutions, things like direct redemptions, internal transfers between clients, maybe liquidity netting across different distributors, new secondary markets, market makers stepping in, perhaps even liquidity guarantee programs from the fund managers themselves. It's a multifaceted problem.
Okay. What else?
Third, fund structure evolution. We need to explore innovative structures. The report mentions Singapore-based variable capital companies, VCCs, which offer flexibility. And there's also an opportunity to automate things like capital calls for closed-end funds to further limit that cash drag for investors.
And what about the regulatory side? That always seems like a major piece of the puzzle with anything blockchain.
It absolutely is. Fourth point. For this to be fully realized, blockchain networks need to be accepted as official books and records for investor ownership, primary source of truth. Now, some countries like Germany, Luxembourg, Singapore, they have supporting legislation moving in that direction. But in the U.S., for example, there's still ambiguity around using blockchain ledgers as primary ownership records, especially for registered funds.
So hurdles there.
Definitely. And this will require significant integration of concepts like AML KYC, investor accreditation checks, suitability rules, directly on-chain, not just handled separately off-chain. Fifth, simple implementation and education. Adoption requires compelling benefits for all the different players in the ecosystem. And there's a huge need for education to address the many misconceptions still floating around about blockchain and tokenization.
Yeah, definitely hear a lot of confusion out there.
And finally, privacy. Blockchain's transparent nature is a feature, but it needs to be balanced with protecting sensitive information, like a wealth management firm's specific investment models, their intellectual property. In the POC, for example, those model allocation details were kept off-chain for privacy. Finding that right balance is key.
Right. So quite a few hurdles still. But despite these challenges, the collaborators behind this project seem optimistic. They believe none seem insurmountable. They're even issuing an industry call to action, inviting like-minded market participants, wealth managers, asset managers, technologists, legal pros, everyone, really to join them in pushing this vision forward. We've unpacked a truly fascinating vision today, exploring how JP Morgan and Apollo, alongside many others, are laying the groundwork for a future. A future where your investments, from plain vanilla stocks to once exclusive alternative assets, are managed with unprecedented efficiency and personalization, all powered by blockchain and tokenization.
Yeah, you've seen how potentially a single click could soon manage thousands of portfolios, get rid of that costly cash drag, and unlock new investment opportunities that were, frankly, out of reach for most individual investors until now. It really is a journey into a world where managing your wealth could become profoundly simpler, more efficient, and ultimately more effective.
So, thinking ahead, what kind of truly personalized portfolio, blending traditional and perhaps cutting-edge alternative assets, might you build when the seamless tokenized financial future fully arrives? Something to think about.